Yeah, so welcome everybody. Talking Niagara is here for the first show of 2026. It's January 5th, and Chris Simone says, let's get this going, 2026. Yeah, okay, we're here.
Hello,
And
Chris. How you doing,
Betty,
man?
and Betty says, welcome to 2026. Peter, Dave, Mike, hugs. There you go.
Oh, thank you very much. Hugs
All
back.
right. Okay, so welcome to 2026. And Dave, one quick message for you. Don't be swapping
Pardon me, what's that?
don't be trading in your Palestine flag for a Venezuelan flag, okay?
Uh, well, I do have a great deal of sympathy for the Venezuelan people, and of course I do. I'm so we're in a situation where as far as the Venezuelan people are concerned, is this a good thing or a bad thing that just happened?
Yeah, and we'll come to that. We'll come to that in a little while. Okay, we'll definitely come to that in a little while. In fact, I think that will take most of our show today. Okay, so bit of local news before we get there. All right, so good morning all and welcome to 2026. And a bit of local news before we get there. There seems to be a rash of things going out on Facebook yesterday, hinting that Tim's on Clifton Hill will be permanently closed today.
I find that hard to believe if it's I don't know how well it does during the winter months, but it must do very well
that's exactly my thought. That's exact. And in fact, actually, this past week, it will have done very well as well. I would have thought.
You would think so, but
yeah,
who knows?
Yeah, but apparently there's a picture of a note that's saying that Tim's will be closed permanently as of today. We shall see. We shall see. I'd like to see somebody run down there and confirm that. Maybe tomorrow.
Are you aware of the controversy in Grimsby of Tim Hortons? Tim Hortons is not what it used to be. It's now just a big part of a conglomeration of businesses or whatever. And in Grimsby, the new owner of this may be back go back a little while, but
so what happened in Grimsby?
Well, in Grimsby, the new owner of the Grimsby Tim Hortons, which is a very busy one, was going to fire everybody. Some of them that had been there for many, many years. He's going to fire everybody and replace them with temporary foreign workers. And so, but it got into the paper, it got into the newspaper, and it got into the local paper and so on. So they had to stop that. So Tim Hortons Central had to come up and say, "Oh, guess what? We made a really bad mistake. We're not going to do that." But that's what they were going to do. And so the temporary foreign worker program still active, I guess. And
sorry about this. We seem to have some difficulty with Dave right now.
What's that? Can't get me?
He's up and everything like that, and now we're to screen. And I frozen up. Hello.
Can you hear me now?
Okay. They're closing because the lease with Hoko has and Hoko because their lease is out. And Hoko has plans for the Yeah, everybody's freezing, Mike. I don't know what's happened. We've lost Dave right now. I'm hoping he'll come back. Really do. I'm hoping he'll get a better connection. There we go. Add to stage. No, Dave, we lost you a little bit there.
Yeah, well, the connection was no good, so I had to start all over again.
Yeah,
Hopefully,
that's
you can
okay.
hear me now.
Apparently, the lease with Hoko is up, and that's the reason why they are closing today. And so Hoko have plans for the property,
Oh,
according to a
okay.
lease
So
in
it's
the area.
Hoko's idea. Get rid of them,
Yeah,
and they're
yeah.
going to do something else with it.
Well, they're going to do something else with it. I would imagine. I can't imagine a Clifton Hill without a Tim Hortons. To be quite honest, can you?
Well, there never was a Tim Hortons on it when I worked down there, so yeah, I can.
Okay, all right. Okay,
Um,
moving on. Niagara on the Lake.
well, I was going to say, hang on. Uh, I was going to talk about the controversy in Grimsby,
Yeah, go
Tim
on.
Horton in Grimsby, and this is something that we should address at least. And in this year, actually, or actually just a few months ago, Tim Hortons franchise faced a major backlash for allegedly firing long-term Canadian staff to replace them with temporary foreign workers.
Oh, okay. That was
sparking a national debate, social media outrage, and political attention, leading Tim Hortons to reverse course, apologize, and rehire the affected Canadian employees. Though concerns about the company using TFWs, that means temporary foreign workers, and corporate practices continue. In other words, where are they coming from? So the temporary foreign workers were supposed to come in and fill up work that other Canadians couldn't do. There wasn't enough Canadians to fill these jobs. So what are they doing? They're replacing them. Is that's because they're getting part of their wages paid by the Canadian government.
Yeah. And honestly, working in a Tim's is not a suitable thing for a temporary foreign worker.
Well, that's where they put them anywhere they can. That's the problem, is they're available to workers. So you get somebody like Tim's that says, "Whoa, I need a lot of, I can't fill these jobs, and I'm going to get these much cheaper workers. And what I'm going to do is get rid of my staff that has been here for years, so I can make 2% more profit per year because I'm greedy." And Tim Hortons condones this.
Yeah.
I almost feel like not going to Tim Hortons ever again.
Yeah, no, I rarely go anyway. I don't like their coffee, and yeah, I understand exactly where you're coming from. Temporary foreign workers. It's not suitable. I can get the summer uplift in work. It might be filled up by temporary foreign workers sometimes, or school kids wanting extra, summer jobs, but not the normal run-of-the-mill every day of the year job, right? That's a job for a Canadian.
Says there took a significant public pressure for Tim Hortons to actually acknowledge the situation and that they handled it poorly.
Yeah,
and the selling of the franchise and the company reversing things, ensuring the Canadian workers kept their jobs. Why was that such a difficult thing for them to do? Why was it so hard for them to just say, "Hey, wait a minute. Hey, new owner, you've made a mistake here. We're not going to let that happen." They were going to wait until it was maybe everybody forgot about it and let it slide through. But because nobody forgot about it and their image was getting tarnished, that's when they finally did something about it. They said, "Oh, we better not do that." But it'd be nice to find out all the different Tim Hortons everywhere and that have replaced their regular staff with temporary foreign workers.
All right. Dave?
Yeah. What's up? Can you hear me again?
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on to Yep, I can hear you fine. Let's move on to Niagara, and the lake brings in the new 2026 with the annual cannon blast at Navy Hall.
Well, what cannon did they use? They used the small one, or there's a mortar there too. I wonder if they used the mortar.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's said actually as to which one they use. I think it's the normal one that they use every year. But all they're doing here is making a big bang for, to celebrate the new year. And it's something they've been doing for a while,
Yeah, it kind of sounds like a neat tradition. I think I've heard that cannon go off. They set that cannon off for us. I have a vague memory of that, maybe when I was a scout or something, and they went down there and they were able to let that cannon go off.
I've been down there when the cannon's gone off. I just don't, I remember hearing it. I don't know what it was for. It was probably something to do with the War of 1812.
I think they've turned the cannon around, face it towards the U.S., and see if they can pop off Trump if he gets close by.
Pardon me. Let's not go there.
Accident.
Let's not go there. Okay, so let's move on to the main topic of today. What's happening in Venezuela? What we know today is the current President Maduro faces U.S. court. He was taken from Venezuela.
The compound he was in, the safe compound that he was in.
Caracas is the place I was looking for. And he's now been taken to the Metropolitan Detention Center in New York. So both President Nicolas Maduro and his wife have been taken now.
Yeah, I'm not so sure what crimes his wife is supposed to have committed, but it wasn't very clear on that. Of course, Maduro is being, for a number of reasons, and one, of course, is drug trafficking. But I don't think they're going to get him on that so much. Now from the very beginning, like, Trump has had his target on Venezuela. And let's be clear, the reason why he's targeting Venezuela is because they have oil, massive amounts of oil.
Yeah.
And in a different time, over 20 years ago now, the United States built its refineries along the Gulf of Mexico coast. Let me give them that. Gulf of Mexico coast, in order to receive Mexican, but mostly Venezuelan heavy crude.
Yeah.
But because of politics, etc., and back in those days too, in the 70s, that's when the United States did not have enough of its own oil to refine. That's all changed now. It has a lot of its own oil. The big problem is the United States has oil from fracking, has made up a lot of oil from fracking, and that's kind of like a sweet crude. The problem is that the U.S. refineries, all the money is being invested into refining heavy crude. So that's why they use Canadian oil, because Canadian oil is a heavy crude too, a very viscous type of.
And that is actually one of the things about the Canadian oil. They're basically saying that if you got US refineries using Canadian oil, it's costing. There's a saving of you're basically saving
20% savings. Yeah, they get a 20% savings reduction right off the bat.
Yeah, just by using Venezuelan crude, right? And
that was using Canadian. Now the Venezuelan crude, of course, is heavy. It's going to be very available now that the U.S. has interfered with Venezuela. That's the main thing.
Dave, even though you're shipping it, Venezuelan crude is actually cheaper than Canadian crude. to the US refineries.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. It's going to be much more. Well, let me put it this way: there's a bit of hypocrisy here too, because under the Biden administration, Chevron made a deal with Venezuela and the United States, and the United States takes in one half of the oil exported by Venezuela right now, before all this ever happened. So make that clear that one half of the oil that is exported from Venezuela already goes to the United States. The problem here is, of course, the United States wants that oil to accelerate and be much more oil. Now, what are the reasons why Trump actually went in here? Number one, it's oil. Oil.
Yeah.
There are a lot of other natural resources that Venezuela has that can be sort of unleashed, basically, if the sanctions are pulled. So if the United States is controlling Venezuela, then they can take the sanctions off of Venezuela, and they can send their own oil people in there, and now drill and pretty much buy the oil for whatever price they want. Now, this has ramifications, though. Let's put it this way. Of course, the people of Venezuela, where they factor into this? Are they going to get a fair shake? Right now, there are no troops on the ground in Venezuela. All they've done is gone in and got Maduro out, and they've threatened Delcy Rodriguez. Delcy Rodriguez is the vice president, and according to Venezuela law, she now becomes the leader of the country. But they have threatened her. They've said, you play ball with us, or what happened to what happened to Maduro is going to happen to you, maybe even worse, right?
She's not the one who won the election, is she?
No, she is the vice president. Okay, let's go into that part of it too. Now there's been different elections over the years against Maduro. They are fixed elections. So in this most recent one, a fellow by the name of Edmundo Gonzalez Urrutia. I don't know how to pronounce that. Urrutia. Urrutia. They usually just call him Edmundo Gonzalez. And then he won. He's right now, he's an ex-diplomat that clearly won the last election. But of course, they were going to let him win the election because Maduro is a dictator. And right now, the guy is living in Spain.
I thought the one who won the election was Maria Corina Machado.
No, she did not win the election. I don't even know if she ran. She got the Nobel Peace Prize for trying to get democratic rights established in Venezuela. So she worked hard to bring in democracy or democratic rights into Venezuela, and she had to make a run for it. But she won the Nobel Prize. And famously, she turned around once she got the Nobel Prize and offered it to Trump, because she knows that the quick way of getting rid of Maduro is to play up to Trump.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. But Trump administration, this is important. The Trump administration don't want anything to do with Maria Machado. They're not going to put her in any position of power or help her. Or are they going to do for Eduardo Gonzalez Urrutia, who won the election? Yeah. And they're not going to help him get in there. So it makes you wonder why this is the duly elected guy, the guy that won the most votes, and yet they're not going to help put him into office. They say that they're going to run the country themselves. So the United States is not interested in who won the election in a democratic election. They're not. They're going to say they're telling everybody they're going to run the country until they can establish a puppet regime that will do what they say. So that's basically what's happened there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but the other thing is that this brings this. Yeah, but this also brings the US into potential problems with the United Nations, because the question right now with it is is, are they in breach of Article 2.4 of the UN Charter?
Well, they definitely are in breach of that.
That
but of course,
basically states that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, every authoritarian government, every might is right type of move made by a powerful nation, whether it's the United States against Iraq, or the United States against Libya, or the United States against Vietnam, or China against the Uyghurs, or Russia against Ukraine. Every one of these people have a so-called legitimate reason for attacking. And so they make it up. So they make it say, this is legal because of this. Now, if you look at the UN Charter, the invasion Russia of China, or the invasion of Russia of Ukraine, was completely illegal. That stuff that Israel's doing to Gaza right now, really right out to lunch, illegal, all according to the UN. So you see that UN has no teeth at all as far as administering anything like that. And it has no teeth when it comes to real powers. It may be able to get certain powers to come and launch peace missions or something, like in Ukraine, or what they tried to do in Rwanda years ago. That was supposed to be, but when it comes to playing against real powers, they have no power, because of course the United States has a veto power in the UN. China and Russia have veto powers in the end. So what's that tell you? They can do anything they damn well please. And so the UN has really no muscle here at all. They could complain all they want, and Trump has made it very clear that he has no time for the United Nations at all, and he's going to do what he wants. And of course, it's about oil.
And the worst about this, and the worst, of course, about this is that I think there's horrible situation right now. We don't know. We don't know what the future will hold with all of this. There's problems about. There seems to be almost worldwide problems in relation to, if they get away with invading Venezuela, does it now allow for example, does it now allow the Chinese to freely invade Taiwan?
Well, that's the real issue here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Trump has famously said, according to John Bolton, he's taken one of his Sharpies out when they were talking about China and Taiwan. Trump took out one of his Sharpies and pointed to the tip of his Sharpie and said, "That's Taiwan." And then he pointed to his big desk, the huge big desk that Queen Victoria sent to the U.S. president years ago, and said, "That's China." Yeah. So this is Taiwan. This is China. Yeah. So that is another thing that the world is worried about. Is it a de facto thing right now that might is right? That they're going to allow China to take its big hunk. It's going to take China to take its big hunk, which includes Taiwan, and we'll stay out of your nose, and we'll take Venezuela, and South America belongs to us. Keep your nose out of here, and we'll let Russia take hunks of Ukraine, and we'll appease them that way. Trump has also come up with a very peculiar idea of having, instead of the G7, have the C5 or something like that, it's called, which has China, Japan, United States, and Russia in it. That's like he's kind of thinking up of a new sort of a G7 kind of thing. It's kind of weird. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. No, and actually that is because in fact I was going to say there's no easier way to say this, but over the last year, it seems in the G7 situation, meetings and that whoever the host nation has been, including Canada, they've tried to de-emphasize the USA. Let's mix and mingle with the other people. Let's invite some new friends along, like Brazil. But we're going to ignore the United States.
It's impossible to ignore the United States because of its economic and military might.
Yeah, we know that.
Now, this is a very unusual. Like, if we looked at the operation, it was I guess it was a Delta Force operation. I'm not even sure, but so what's happened is they went in and they got Maduro and they got back out. It was a surgical lightning strike. No amount of security forces in and around Maduro could stop it, and yet then they left. So if you compare this with the changes of regime that the United States did against Grenada, which was a little island, it took them thousands of troops to do that little island back in the 80s, and when they went after Noriega in the 90s, they took 27,000 troops in tiny Panama to get Noriega and make that regime change. The difference here is they took a handful of super well-trained commandos and very high-end equipment and intelligence, extremely highly developed intelligence, got in, got Maduro, got him out, and left no boots on the ground. So that's the difference between the two other times they've done regime changes, just in the Caribbean or the Central America there.
Yeah,
that gives you an idea what they can do now.
Noriega,
Panama and Grenada.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that gives you an idea how fast that can be done. Now, why did they get away with that without putting any boots on the ground? It's because they have a population, a good deal of the population that is going to probably be very compliant with the United States. They have a population, obviously, that has voted against Maduro in two previous elections, and a great many of the Venezuelan people were looking for a way and means to get rid of their dictator. But the fact that the United States is not going to put in Edmundo Gonzalez Urrutia, or whatever, however you pronounce that, or even listen to Mikado, they're going to go in and put their own person in. It looks like Rubio's going to run the country from outside somehow. This makes you think that they've already made a deal. Somewhere they've made a deal with some of the opposition, or maybe some of the military, or something. There's been a deal. There's been some kind of negotiations going on, and we know the United States has done a lot of this in Venezuela. They even tried to bribe the Maduro's pilot into flying Maduro out of the country when he was flying inside the country, to fly him outside of the country and into U.S. hands. So there's been a lot of machinations inside the country. And we do know that there are a lot of people there, of course, that are not happy with the Maduro regime.
So in summary, whilst they have taken Maduro, they haven't invaded the country.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Precisely.
But
and
at the same time,
they feel that they have control. They feel like they have control over what's going to happen, because they feel there's not a whole lot of real resistance to what they've just done.
But at the same time, the US is also stating that they will run the country.
Exactly. That they're going to run the country.
Yeah.
And basically because when asked about Edmundo Gonzalez, the guy that won, the last election, and they're not going to use them or put them in, or even try to help Machado do anything. It sounds as if they figured, well, we're going to put our own people in. We're going to put in a compliant government. We're going to put in a puppet government, basically.
Yeah.
And this is very interesting fact that I came across when I was just kind of looking at stuff to do with Venezuela, that back in 1904 or 1908, I think it was 1908, Theodore Roosevelt made a corollary to the doctrine. What's the doctrine I'm thinking of? What's that? It slipped my mind. Not the Madison doctrine, not the.
I'm sorry, I'm not. I was concentrating on something else and missed what you were saying. So I'm completely out the loop on it. So I can't provide the answer where I normally would.
It slipped my mind for some reason.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So a couple of things while you're thinking about that. Everyone was happy with the removal of Moderno. People of Venezuela. Monroe Doctrine. There you go.
All right. So I don't know why that's being said over and over and over again in the news, and for some reason it got slipped out of my mind for a minute there. But the Monroe Doctrine was an early doctrine by the United States that stated all foreign powers stay out of our hemisphere. We will not put up with that, and we control this hemisphere.
Yeah.
A corollary to that, according to, I think it was the historian Neil Ferguson, he said that he added that the United States made it clear that any leader that they didn't like in their sphere of influence, that's South America, Central America, Canada, that they could walk in and change him. So that was the corollary that Theodore Roosevelt added to the Monroe Doctrine. And if you look at it, that's what Trump is doing right now.
Well, and
they
arguably
are engaging in the corollary that saes if we don't like a leader, any leader, we'll just move in and replace them.
Yeah. And arguably that is exactly what happened in Chile in the 1970s as well.
That was a CIA plot. What happened there is a fellow by the name of Salvador Allende, I think his name was.
Salvador Allende, yes. And he was the
legal elected leftist leader of Chile. And he won the fair election. Yeah. The United States didn't like it. They felt that any kind of leftist policy wasn't good for them. So they hatched a plot along with Pinochet, who was a right-wing general in Chile, and took over. A violent revolt took over, and then Pinochet then took over the government as a military dictator and murdered his way to the top, basically, and completely destroyed. People disappeared all over the place. Pinochet was an international criminal, and but when he was said and done, and he walked away from Chile's economy improved, and so there's always been that idea that, well, if it wasn't for Pinochet, the economy wouldn't be where it is today. I'm not so sure that's true, but they did that exactly, and that was during Nixon's time.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. Probably before a lot of people can remember. I can remember it, but yeah, it's and it's just another one of exactly what you were saying. The US saying, stay out of our sphere of influence, and we'll change any government we don't like in our sphere of influence. Not that they've done anything about Canada as yet, because of course. Democratic Canada is a whole heap different than some of the other, than somewhere like Venezuela. where
Well, the United States is on an expansionist thing right now. Right from the very beginning, Trump has made it look like, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the Gulf of Mexico and call it the Gulf of America. I mean, the Gulf of Mexico has been called that for 440 years in the English language.
Yeah.
Right. In any of the English speaking countries, it's been called the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah.
And he decided he's going to change it just because he could. And he wanted to show everybody I could do whatever I want to. And that's going to be the Gulf of America, because Mexico's next. Now, the Trump is on a kind of a might is right type of march. He's going after Greenland next, that looks like. Yeah. He's also looking at Cuba and Colombia.
Well, and
so he's also warned Cuba and Colombia, and Rubio himself has warned Cuba and said that if I was in the Cuban government right now, I'd be pretty worried.
Yeah. All right. Let's just talk. Let's talk Greenland, because I think it's important to talk Greenland. It's another one. It's another one that's been blowing up during the holidays. Basically, the Greenlanders saying we're not for sale. Protests across Greenland. Denmark basically saying ordering Trump to stop the threats over Greenland, and speaking to reporters and saying that that even though President Trump is saying we need Greenland from a standpoint of national security, the reality is they need it for a lot of the rare earth metals and other things that exist within Greenland itself. And part of, Greenland isn't really being mined at all right now, but that's one of the things that Trump wants. But of course, in order to get Greenland, he really wants to come trampling across Canada as well, doesn't he?
Well, yeah, he's empire building, basically, what he's doing, and he's going after the weak ones first. He could see that there was a lot of political problems for Maduro in Venezuela. He sees a country that was at one time a very wealthy and prosperous country, and that's still within living memory. So a lot of people who live in Venezuela remember much more prosperous times.
Yeah.
And so that was an easy one for him to do. He can go in there and take out a dictator that was unpopular and pretty much make a deal with other people in the country to establish a puppet government that would do what the United States wants them to do. And but Greenland's a different situation. There's only 50,000 people there, and he has no real excuse to go there, because the Danish government that owns Greenland, basically, Greenland's an autonomous region of Danish holdings. So we know that Greenland wants to become independent in a very short time. When that becomes possible, they will do that. In the meantime, they have very strong connections with Denmark. And the United States has had a military post that there in Greenland, and the Danish government and the Greenland government has allowed the United States to have as big a military presence as it wants. The serious sort of hypocrisy of all this is the United States has reduced the size of its military presence in Greenland over these years because it felt that it really didn't need it. Now it thinks it needs it back again, but instead of just building up their military presence there again, Trump says, "Oh, we got to have it. We got to own it."
Yeah.
So he wants to be an imperialist. He wants to be a great conqueror, and I'm not so sure that Greenland would be an easy take for them. I mean, it would be a diplomatic blunder, of course, but he could just walk up there and say it's ours now. Yeah. You're never going to get anybody there to agree to him that says it belongs to you, but he's going to say, just like he did in Puerto Rico or whatever, this is ours, too bad. And when the Puerto Ricans say, hey, I want to be a state or anything like that, I want representation, too bad you can't have it. And
Yeah, and the irony, the irony here, of course, is that even though Greenland has this autonomous part of Denmark, Greenland it makes Greenland part of the European Union, which also is the other thing is that it brings Canada closer to the European Union in some respects as well, from the economic ties viewpoint. But again, if Washington wants to run Greenland, it probably needs to do so somehow through Canada. You kind of need to have the two together, don't you?
no, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think Greenland will probably be the first thing that it's an easy grab for him. So you see he's going after easy places. I mean, the first big easy conquest was changing the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. So that was his first conquest. So he's looking for the easiest conquests along the way.
But again,
and Greenland will be an easy conquest. He doesn't need Canada at all to get there. He doesn't need Canada at all to be part of this. The one thing that would be an issue is that Canada now is one of the countries that are mining and developing resources in Greenland right now. Yeah. So the Canadian mining concerns are there. Will Trump displace them, get rid of them? Who knows what?
Yeah, but the other thing, of course, is that entry into Greenland, taking Greenland, would be a breach of NATO Section 5, Article 5, I mean.
Doesn't look like the might is right plan of the United States is, I don't know, is going to even pay much attention to that. Now, I mentioned the might is right thing because we see that that's pretty much the thing that's happening right now. Might is right. If I'm bigger and stronger than you, I may have at one time beamed and said democracy around the world is a wonderful thing, and if you're a democracy, I'm a democracy, we're pals. That doesn't seem to be the issue anymore. It's if I'm bigger and I want your oil, I'm going to take it. It's not like Iraq or when they go into Iraq or mess with Syria or mess with Libya or something like that. They leave a real disaster when they did that, and they may not have. When they went into Iraq was supposed to pay them back in oil after the war. I don't know if that's ever even happened. It cost them a huge amount of money. So their exploits in messing with countries like Iraq and Afghanistan have cost them incredible amounts of money. And what they've left is a disaster. They lost in Afghanistan. Afghanistan's exactly what it was after before they left or before they interfered. It's exactly the way it was before the 25 years of interference there. Iraq is just a mess, a fomenting mess. It's actually come more under the influence of Iran. They're going to try to do the Iran thing. This is another issue that's come up. Netanyahu has got the ear of Trump, and he's been pulling Trump's ear and trying to get him to finish off Iran. Iran is the last big obstacle to Israel in the region. It's the only power that the United States has not taken care of for them. The United States took out Iraq, Saddam Hussein. The United States made sure that Syria was a mess. The United States also was instrumental in getting rid of the country of Libya. There's only one military country that's of any challenge at all to Israel's machinations, and that's Iran. And Netanyahu won't shut up about it. And as a matter of fact, they've come up with the Israel Prize. Did you get that one? There's a thing called the Israel Prize or the Israel award. It's never been given to anyone in 80 years other than an Israeli. But this year, Netanyahu's going to give it to Trump.
Okay. There's also, while you were talking about Iran there, of course, Iran is on actually my agenda of one of the topics because Iran is Iran is basically in a situation now where it is urging the UN to respond to Trump's reckless threats and protests over invasions, etc.
Yeah. So basically, what's happening in Iran right now is they're having another revolt in Iran. Iran is an oppressive theocratic regime.
Yeah.
We can go into how the Ayatollah got into power. The Ayatollah got into power because what the West did was they put in their puppet, who was the Shah.
Yeah.
Shah did what they want him to do, and but the people got pissed off because he was a brutal dictator, and so they wanted to change. And the thing that would make that change was the religious figure, the Ayatollah Khomeini. But when he got into power, he put in his religious theists, and they became a theocratic authoritarian government, which really didn't help much. It's very corrupt government, and people are not happy at all with the government. And that's not just because of the sanctions. It's just a government that doesn't suit the people. Trump is kind of taking advantage of this right at the particular point and said, well, if you go around and club your protesters, I'm going to come in there and help. I'm going to come and save them and rescue them. I imagine if Iran said that to the United States when the Black Lives Matter thing was happening and there's lots of clubbing going on, and Iran says, if you keep clubbing their demonstrators, we're going to come in there and help them and rescue them. So I don't know. But in any case, so Iran is not a healthy regime at all. The theocracy does not really have the support of the people. But the real issue here is Israel's fear of Iran. They've been trying to get the United States to take out Iran for 30 years. And when we found post after post not long ago where Netanyahu has spoken to the United States or the UN, saying over and over again that Iran is only days away from getting a nuclear bomb. It's only 2 years away from getting a nuclear bomb. And that goes back 30 years, and they still don't have a nuclear bomb. Yeah. And right now, Netanyahu knows how to play Trump, and he can play him like a fiddle. So can Putin. They know how to get to him. They know how to get to his ego. And unfortunately for...
Well, that's exactly what they're doing, of course. And they've been doing it. They've been doing it a whole year long, right? Tomorrow is the first anniversary, by the way, of Trump's... is not the first anniversary. Sorry, 21st is when he gets back into power. Yeah, first anniversary. Tomorrow's the January 6th, which of course that anniversary was different thing. Yeah,
and they've got James Smith. Yeah, so it was. So they have James Smith indicted, and I think it's going against what they want. They wanted to indict him about the election and Trump's interference and so on and so forth. I don't think they're getting they're getting what they want out of that. They wanted to kind of frame him, but it's working against him. He's making him look like he was a honest public servant doing what he's supposed to do. And I don't think they like that.
I've got everything I've heard from him, from Smith. It seems to be exactly along that. The public servant who may have made mistakes, but did exactly what he was ordered to do.
Did exactly what he was ordered to do, exactly what his conscience ordered him to do as well. Yeah. And he seems to be a bipartisan, the real deal. So that when they're trying to, when they're trying to railroad somebody's reputation, they don't do such a good job. I mean, they got Trump on the telephone with the Georgia governor saying, find me 11,000 votes. I mean, that's on the phone. you know. And the Georgia government, I can't find you something that's not there. Oh yeah, it's there. Just, kind of tweak it here, tweak it there. You know what I mean? And we'll have Georgia. So
yeah.
Anyway, so we are. The United States has decided that it would put in a morally corrupt kind of individual. That they are. I believe that the Project 2025 thing is going along just as planned, and that would be the imperialistic stuff that they're doing right now, and this is a huge distraction too. This serves as a distraction of the Epstein thing. Anything Trump would have invaded China if it gets him away from the news away from the Epstein thing,
Yeah, actually, it's interesting you say that, because I've seen some memes saying Epstein Venezuela.
Yeah, so it's well, anyway, this also, if we want to bring in Marco Rubio into this. He is the son of Cuban immigrants, basically, that had to flee after the communist revolution. He's had a bee in his bonnet for any of these communist or socialist type of governments in Central and South America, and it's particularly Cuba. So we have to know that a lot of what's going on there is happily being pursued by Rubio himself. Now let's discuss. Now, when they talk about socialist governments, they always bring up Venezuela. You'll know the right-wing press will always say, "Oh, you want to look like you got Bernie Sanders in there, and next thing you know, we're going to be like Venezuela." That shows their incredible ignorance about how socialism works. Social democracy. They think Mamdani's going to change New York into Venezuela instantly, that kind of thing.
And
that shows their insane ignorance. Or their
so it's interesting that, of course, they took the Venezuelan leader to New York.
Well, that's where he was indicted. That's where the court, I think one of the courts in and around New York City were the ones that indicted him on the crimes some years ago.
Yeah. But the point
so that's
being,
where he's going to face the court.
The point being is that's where he's got to face his accusers. But of course, the point being is that if Mamdani had real power, they wouldn't be taking him to New York, because Mamdani would just fly him back to Venezuela.
Mamdani would stay right out of it, and that's the thing I like about Mamdani.
No, he will stay right out of it.
When all the other mayoral contestants for New York, candidates for New York, all bowed down and said, "Well, we'll go to Israel. I will lick Israel's boots. That's the first place I will go once I get elected." Mamdani says, "I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stay right here. I got work to do here." And I think if Maduro comes in, I don't think he could care less about Maduro. I think he say, "I still got my own work to do here. Maduro and Venezuela does have nothing to do with me in New York City." So, I mean, he may have his own private ideas about extracting a leader out of a country, but no one argues the fact that Maduro was a bad leader for the country. No one's arguing that at all.
No, we're not arguing that at all.
They just the ramifications of this. This is what most of the people, including me, are worried about. What does this mean for the Venezuelan people? Are there going to be revolutions there? Is there going to be a civil war? Is there? Are the people going to be fed? Is water going to be coming in? Is food going to be coming in? Is electricity going to start up again? Those kind of things. That's what I'm worried about.
Well, the interesting thing is that Trump actually warned the vice president, whose name I forget.
Delcy Rodriguez.
Right. Yeah. he basically warned the vice president that she better get on with doing U.S. policy or else.
Well, he pretty well said, do what I tell you, or things are going to be even worse for you.
Yeah.
Than it was for Maduro. I mean, the only thing worse than what happened to Maduro is being assassinated, because you can't think of anything worse than that. It could be even worse for Delcy. So Delcy has done what she should be doing. She's saying she's the vice president, so she now is officially the president of the country, basically the leader. How much of the military or how much of the government is actually going to follow her? But let's put it this way: the government still is in charge of whether the lights go on or whether the roads get paved, whether water mains get built, and all that kind of thing. So there still has to be somebody in charge at the top. And even when the United States and the Allies came into Nazi Germany, what did they use? They used all the old Nazi officials, because they're the ones that knew how to fix the roads. They're the ones that knew how to fix the plumbing and all the other stuff. So it's going to be interesting how this happens. Now, Delcy Rodriguez has said, "I want proof of life for Maduro. I want him back here. That shouldn't happen." Blah blah. Of course, she's part of his party. She's going to say that.
She has to.
On the quiet, though, we don't know what kind of arrangements they've made with her.
Yeah.
Both her and Maduro have offered the United States incredible deals with oil and everything else before the United States took out Maduro. Part of the conditions, however, for the United States was have Maduro leave completely. Maduro says, "I'll let you have everything you want, but I stay in place." And they didn't agree with that, so they took him out. Whether or not they'll let Delcy Rodriguez stay as a titular leader, as a puppet head for U.S. policy, we don't know. Basically, what Trump has envisioned is the country will open. They'll put somebody in that will run the country the way they want them to, a kind of Shah, basically, and somebody they can control. And then they'll bring in their big oil companies and so on, and see if they can get the oil reserves back up to where they were prior to Hugo Chavez.
All right. Okay. So it's 2026. It's the first show of 2026. And wow, we haven't actually mentioned Gaza once. There we go.
No, but it's on my mind, of course.
But
Netanyahu's power over Trump is incredible. The only good thing that Trump does not completely trust him, because Netanyahu kind of backstabbed him once there after Biden got elected. Anyway, so he kind of turned his back on Trump for a little while there before he understood that Trump was still a player. And of course, he's complimenting him. They took the Golan Heights, called it the Trump Heights. They're giving them this Israeli award, anything to stroke his ego, and it's working. And he's already asked the U.S. to slow down phase 2 of the peace deal in Gaza, and the Israelis have killed about 500 citizens and wounded 1,000 more since the so-called peace deal started. Apparently, the American administration behind the scenes is extremely frustrated with Netanyahu and his slow roll into this peace deal. But as we know, Netanyahu pulls the ring around that's pierced the nose of Trump. They did the same thing with Biden, to be fair. They led Biden around by the nose, and they're doing the same thing with Trump. Except they're a little bit more sophisticated with Trump, or unsophisticated. Basically, here, you're wonderful, you're God, you are wonderful. Here's a prize for you. Here's something else. This is what we need. We need to stroke your ego.
Right.
I mean, they saw what FIFA did. FIFA invented the Peace Prize, the FIFA Peace Prize, and they gave it to him. So now Israel's going to give the Israel Prize to Trump. the first person that's not an Israeli. I mean, it's stupid, but it works. It works for them.
All right. I think we'd better end it at that point.
Yes. And without further ado, I bid you do. And do not forget, Gaza, that outrage is still happening. Netanyahu is pulling Trump around by the nose, and let's hope somebody in the U.S. administration gets frustrated enough to tell him, look, come on, we can't let this guy control us all the time. And that's what the right, the right has been calling for, much more than the left, which surprises me. Is it MAGA they want, make America great again, or is it MEGA they want, make Israel great again?
Actually, the other question about this, of course, we went into Christmas with the Epstein files being hot on the list, and with Trump being on the back burner, kind of hiding away, and accusations about Trump being coming to the fore. And now, of course, you've got the rebirth of Trump.
Yeah, well, he's an expert. He'll have the whole world's. He is probably the most famous person ever in the history of the world. Seriously, because
I know where you're coming from, but it's complete bunk. But I know where you're coming from.
Yeah, you almost have to be the Beatles in order to beat them. As somebody who knows everybody. Anyway, without further ado, I bid you adieu. Think of Gaza and pray for peace.
Thank you, everybody.